I am back. Rudrance for Black and White Network. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And as always, our audio from all of our channels is available on podcast wherever you get your podcast. However you consume your podcast. We are available on Google, Apple, Spotify, Breaker, Castbox, and the list goes on and on. So, we're going to talk about CNN, and we're going to talk about CNN watchers. This is something I briefly touched on in yesterday's video, but we're actually going to take a look at the story that's out there, and we're also going to take a look at CNN. Oh, my goodness. This is CNN Super Bowl. Trump is indicted. Oh, my God. CNN, this is their Super Bowl. They're covering this indictment, and they are in hog heaven right now, except they're finding out from some of the very people on CNN that this case that the radical leftist Alvin Bragg has brought against President Trump is a total and complete joke. And I've got a couple of pieces of video, a couple of clips from CNN that came out yesterday evening, and frankly, it's pretty hilarious. Now, what is happening to President Trump is not hilarious. This is obviously a very, very sad attempt to keep somebody from running for president of the United States. They hate Trump. They hate everything he's about. They hate you, by the way. Should just bring that up. They don't like you. That's right. Oh, you're going to church on Sundays? Hate you. Oh, you believe in family? You believe in the traditional nuclear family? Hate you. Your American ideals, your American principles, they hate you. I'm just letting you know. So CNN has come out. The people that watch CNN hate you. And that's in part what this is about too, because we're gonna go over this, and this is exactly where leftists and the media are, and celebrities. They don't care. They don't care what Trump gets indicted for. They don't care if it's got any validity. They don't care about any of that. They just want him indicted. Now think about that. That's a dangerous place to be in, is the idea that you've got many Americans, if they want to call themselves that. It looks to me like they're communists wanting to transform this country into something that it's not supposed to be. But you got a lot of Americans out there, I'll use that term loosely, again, regarding these people, but that are out there that don't give a rat's as long as they get Trump's head on a platter. That's scary. Okay, to literally just want a man locked up, whether he deserves to be locked up or not. And that's where we're at right now. So let's take a look at this. This is, I saw this and was like, this is just nuts. This is just nuts. This is the Daily Wire. CNN poll finds 60% of Americans support Trump indictment, even though they have no clue what's in it. And I contend they absolutely, positively do not care what's in it. They don't care. They just want to see him indicted. They just want to see him locked up. They just want to see his ability to run for president in this country to disintegrate. Which is frightening that there is anybody out there that would want somebody locked up for a potential crime they did not commit. But they want him locked up just because. Just because. He insults their leftist sensibilities. That's crazy. It's ludicrous. So, a new CNN poll, and look, it should be noted, do I normally give CNN polls any validity? Of course I do not. But this is a litmus test. This is a prime example of what we're dealing with. The people that are responding to a CNN poll are going to be Democrats, they're going to be radicals, they're going to be leftists, they're going to be communists. And you need to know this is exactly where these people stand. Whether there is an actual valid criminal leg to stand on for President Trump getting indicted, they don't care. They just want him indicted. They just want him locked up. They want the key thrown away. They want your freedom to be thrown away. They want the ideals that you were raised on to be thrown away. You're dealing with Marxists here, folks. Make no mistake about it. A new CNN poll found that more than half of all Americans approve of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's decision to indict former President Donald Trump, despite the fact that no one surveyed knew the contents of the steel-sealed indictment when they answered questions about it. And yes, it was about Stormy Daniels and the other broad. That is it's a total and complete joke. It truly is. And yeah, provided Donald Trump can somehow, some way, in a very radical blue New York, get a fair trial, this shit shouldn't even go to trial. It shouldn't even see the light of day. It should be dismissed. And we will get to the CNN pundits that actually come out and just flat admit in fear that Alvin Bragg has no case here. Because it is hilarious, and like I said, we'll get to that. I'll show the video from it. There's one. And there's another one. So, let's get to this. CNN anchor Jake Tapper broke down some of the results of the poll, which was taken between March 31st and April 1st, so 2 days. It showed an overwhelming majority of Democrats, 94%, were in favor of the indictment. A majority of independents, 62%, also supported the move, followed by just 21% of Republicans. Who are you Republican voters that 2.1 of you out of every 10 would possibly support somebody getting indicted without you even knowing what the indictment is for? That's crazy. Not only that, but what 2.1 of you out of every 10 is even responding to a CNN poll? What are you doing over there to answer a poll to begin with? I mean, I guess some people consume just to see where the enemy is landing its planes right now. But still, you get my point. Overall, nearly 2/3, 60% of those surveyed said they supported the decision to indict Trump. Oh, there is a little video with this.
And our politics lead a significant majority, 60% of the American people tell CNN in a new poll that they approve of the indictment of Donald Trump. Democrats are nearly universal in their support. A whopping 94% say they approve the indictment. 62% of independents say they favor the indictment. 21% of Republicans say they support the indictment. Let's discuss.
Okay, so, yeah, there was the actual video to it. But as critics quickly began to point out, neither those asking the question nor answering it had any specific idea what crimes the former president was actually being charged with. Reports have indicated that Trump is expected to face nearly 36 charges related to business fraud, but the official indictment was still under seal at the time the survey was conducted, days before Trump's arraignment was scheduled to take place in Manhattan. The Daily Caller's Brianna Lyman tweeted, quote, CNN conducted a poll, 60% of Americans approve of the indictment. We don't know what he's charged with, yet 60% of Americans blindly say they support this. That tells you all you need to know about these people. They don't believe in justice, but in political persecution. Of course. That's exactly what they support. Getting him locked up and out of the way. Getting him out of the fray for 2024 and running for president. Joshua Kushar added some context, laying out several other questions that people had been asked in the same poll. Trump's favorability was measured at 34%, just a few points lower than Biden's most recent 38%. And over half, 52%, said that politics played a, quote, major role in Bragg's decision. Over 3/4, 76% of those surveyed said the move was at least somewhat political. And just over one-third, 37%, thought Trump's alleged payments to Stormy Daniels was illegal at all. So these people literally come out and admitted there is some definitely some politics here. This is somewhat political by at least some of these people, and they don't care. Okay, so that's just literally people that are walking around amongst us that is coming out and saying, I don't care what the charges are. I also know the charges are politically motivated. I don't care. I just want this man locked up. Which could be quite possibly one of the most un-American things I have ever even considered hearing in my entire life. That should frighten you that people are okay with anybody. I don't give a damn if somebody considers somebody to be the biggest scumbag on the planet. You should not want said scumbag locked up if that scumbag is innocent of any crime. You don't lock people up in this country because you don't like their personality or you think they're mean. That's not something that should ever even be considered by anybody. So, let's get to CNN Super Bowl because this ties in. And I've got a couple of different videos, but some CNN pundits are weighing in on exactly how much of a case the radical DA Alvin Bragg actually got against Trump. And to just, and I mean, boy, they got an all-star cast going on here, folks. John Bolton, John King is hosting. Jake Tapper's hosting. They got John King and Jake Tapper on the same panel. Okay, this is CNN Super Bowl, and they want to celebrate it so badly, except the very pundits that they brought on that hate Trump, even they have to admit the case is not all it's cracked up to be. It's underwhelming. And John Bolton even goes as far as to say this should be acquitted or dismissed immediately. And he hates Trump with a passion. So, let's take a look at this because I find all of this... I find these people at CNN, I mean, you know they hear this stuff and they are... The wind sucked out of the room, the air sucked out of the room.
This may be or may not be your reaction now that you've had a chance to go through it. Is it what you thought it was going to be, and are you unimpressed?
It is what I thought it was going to be in terms of focusing on the payments that were made, the falsification of the records, and really tied to the payment that was made to Stormy Daniels. In terms of a case that's being brought against a former president.
Look, they know that's a bullshit case.
It's a little underwhelming. There's not more to it. There's not more violations, tax violations.
The case is underwhelming even to CNN and their pundits.
Picture, what do you think of the indictment?
Well, speaking as someone who very strongly does not want Donald Trump to get the Republican presidential nomination, I'm
Speaking as somebody that hates Trump and is totally and completely biased, this case is bullshit.
Extraordinarily distressed by this document. I think this is even weaker than I feared it would be. And I think it's easily subject to being dismissed or a quick acquittal for Trump. Just speaking, going back to the days when I represented...
We could be in some trouble if you were expecting this to actually go anywhere. CNN is coming out and saying this should be a quick dismissal. This should be a quick acquittal. There's nothing to see here. John Bolton goes on in this clip to talk about the fact that you would be investigating every candidate in the history of candidates and any little expenditure they've ever had, and you would have to go through and ask the question, well, you bought a $10 comb when there was a $1 comb you could have bought right over here. Why did you do that? And he said, that's not what we do. That's not what the law says we should be doing. And it would open up a can of worms. And look, I don't know how many politicians want this can of worms to be opened up. And he talks about the fact that there's federal precedent to this case being nonsense, which we know the feds have already said this case is nonsense against Trump. So I found CNN's reaction to be funny because, you know, they're hoping, again, they're celebrating their Super Bowl. We got this all-star panel, and we want to talk about the fact that Trump may go to jail, except their very own pundits believe the case is bullshit. Now, the Americans that are actually watching CNN that answered the poll we talked about earlier, they're the ones in the panic now because they're like, shit, we thought they had him on something. I mean, we didn't care that they didn't have him on anything, but we thought they had him on something. Again, it's all about, is he going to get a fair trial? And I bet you in that poll, if there was an additional question given to CNN viewers, do you care that he may or may not receive a fair trial based on where the location is held? Do you just want to see him indicted and go to jail? You would be shocked how many people would not give a rip if this thing was fair or not, because they hate Trump that much. Their TDS is that gross, it's that twisted, it's that un-American, and they're that Marxist and that communist. Folks, we got a section of this country that is poisonous. I mean, truly. They are venomous, poisonous. In my opinion, many of them suffer from mental health issues, truly. Or they just simply could not support some of the ideals that they support because they're just that, sick and twisted. Right? Tell me what you think. Black and White Network supporters, make sure you hit subscribe. Thank you for watching this video and all of our videos. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.